guys, it's Carolyn, and welcome back to the Quit Getting Screwed Construction Podcast. Thank you for being here. Today I have another exciting guest, is Stephen Ryan. He is the CEO of ConveYour. And I'll let him dive into exactly what his company does and everything, but I think it's an essential tool for anybody out there looking to expand their sales and scale their business. Hey, good afternoon, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing great, Carolyn. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit about what your company does and like how you got into this field?
Yeah, sure. So ConveYour helps companies that want to, grow and dominate in their industry through recruiting, onboarding, training, and retention. So we help companies that really have a great offer, have a great product, know that they have a great value as a company, but it's time to expand, and they want to do that through more technicians, more salespeople, more entry level help, maybe the gig economy type of work, and they need to do that quickly. So that's our product. And the way I got involved in this is my background way back in my college days, admittedly 20 years ago, was in Cutco knives and vector marketing. And I kind of cut my teeth in sales, did that for 5 years, and then had an opportunity to get into technology and build their sales rep relationship manager tool. And that started everything. So from there, last 20 years, we've just been helping companies in construction, solar, home security, anybody basically has a residential play, and commercial too. We've done some commercial construction stuff to again, do the thing that I just said, like recruit, onboard, train, and retain more people. So
do you offer like piecemeal, or is it a whole system that you offer?
Yeah. So people will come to us for different motions, right? So some people come and they're a smaller outfit and they say, you know what, we want to buy back our time. That's a big concept we always talk about is, as owners, I want to buy back all my time I'm doing to train this new person. And I want to automate that. And then they say, oh, well, we also have to do the nitty gritty of onboarding them and badging them up and all of that. So can we do our onboarding with you and then our recruiting with you? So we are a full suite, but people do kind of bite us off for different stages of that process.
So what is the difference between onboarding and training? Please educate me.
Great question. And people, so I might be pedantic about this a little bit because people just kind of lump those two concepts of like, well, I'm going to onboard them and that's training. I specifically say onboarding is all of the nuts and bolts of getting them an email address, getting them added to all the seller and quoting tools and all of your stuff like that, collecting all of their information and their emergency contact info and their W-9 and their rep agreement and all of that HRE stuff, right? I call that a completely separate thing than training. Gotcha. And when you do that and when you actually separate them out, they finally realize that is a ton of stuff that we're doing in onboarding that we conflated as part of the training process, but it should be automated, right? A lot of that should be automated. And then training is what you do after you've onboarded a rep.
So what is a good training program look like, and how long should it last?
Yeah, good question. So I'm pretty passionate about this question. So hopefully I won't, soapbox too long. But training, the what of training is different for every company. But specifically where we play with these, we work with a lot of companies where they're working with 1099 based reps, opportunity based, sales options for reps, or just short tenured W-2 employees. And good training, to answer your question, is training that's more belief building than training.
Okay.
And so what we typically see like a poor funnel look like is they think they made the sale by recruiting somebody. And then their onboarding and training is trash or not great, to mince words. And they think that they have the person in the bag, but that person's kind of silently quitting and looking at other opportunities while they're in their funnel. Because it's not like you're hiring, a FANG software engineer at Google that's going to get paid $250,000 or something like that, right? It's someone who's maybe looking at a few other opportunities for themselves. So back to the question, the onboarding is building belief and excitement. The training is building belief, and the training is more thought of as they work backwards in your mind. So, for example, the first 2 weeks of this rep is on the job. Mm-hmm. What do they have to accomplish? What do I have to train them to get them to the next aha moment where you've hooked them again to learning more and having enough belief to do more of it? So, kind of a first principles exercise is, what would I say or position my opportunity in a way where if I didn't do any training at all, and I said, this person has enough belief to just go on YouTube and learn the job, they would do the job. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it is. It goes straight to what, and they forget that there's a bunch about context setting and expectations and belief building.
No, and I could, as a business owner, and I'm sure this is not an uncommon belief, it's like, I hired you as a construction salesperson. You should know what to do, right? Like, I hire attorneys. They should know what to do. But it turns out that they don't. And then I get frustrated when they don't know how to do it. And that's when the relationship kind of crumbles. So how do you help these people put together a training manual if they're from the mindset of like, well, they should know what to do? Or where do you start with that process?
Where do you start with like, what is my syllabus going to be? Like, what is my work going to be?
What am I training them on? If you came to me 2 years ago, I'd be like, I don't even know what to train. I would just assume they would know what to do.
Right. So, and there's two camps, right? There are people what we work with that are doing so much recruiting that their pool of people are very entry level that have no idea what to do, and they're just looking for people that have grit, that have done something in their life, and they're training and to do the thing. Okay, like what I wrote in Crew, University of Washington, they actually preferred like tall guys that did not ever row because they could make them row the way they wanted them to row.
Gotcha.
Right. And so they were looking for the skill, and like you can look for skill, taste, and grit, and then train them. But that's easy to do when you're looking for the same role 1,000 times.
Gotcha.
Right. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking for like, okay, I need this person with this talent and that person with that talent, that is harder when it comes to what to train for. I think, again, going back to, I'm not trying to skirt around your question here, but I think what do I train them on becomes so paralyzing for a lot of business owners because when you've worn 17 hats in a business, it just can come out. And then if you think about how much if you have to tell them, then it's overwhelming to think about how much work that is. So I always say, okay, I just start with an outcome journey for this person. So in the first 7 days, kind of like Who Not How, the book, start with the outcomes. Okay, so in the first 7 days, these are the skills, behaviors I must see, right? And then, and then I work back from that to say what I would want them to train them on. Gotcha. And I might just start with quizzing them on hardball questions on that outcome to see how much they know about it.
Gotcha.
And then use our system to say, oh my gosh, they don't know this, and I do need to meet with them or put in more content, for that role. Okay. But starting with going back to it, I would just focus on 2-3 weeks outcomes, and then, it's really outcome driven, and just start there. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. And so once you have that, what is the next step? Do you create the videos? Does the client create the videos?
Most of our customers create their own content and bring it in. We have done, content for them, where we call it like Training Muse is the model, where we just hop on a Zoom call like this. This isn't Zoom, but you know what I mean. And actually ask them questions about the role. What do they have to be able to understand? Tell me about that. And then we clip that up and make that content. So that we've done that before. Gotcha. But I think, again, business owners and implementers overthink what they can get, what they have to do, that it has to be super polished and really well done. I mean, you can make some really great content just with some selfie videos, and getting it out, getting it out of your head, right? See, because people throw the baby out with the bathwater on training a lot. They go, well, if it can't be polished, if it can't be perfect, then I'm not going to do it at all, right? And meanwhile, every 2 weeks they're doing like a cohort of Zoom training for these new people, and they're repeating themselves when they could have had that as a SOP or something in the product. And 80% good is just amazing, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree. 80% done is better than not done at
Yeah,
all.
it's freaking awesome, right? Yeah.
So how important do you think this system is to like a company that wants to grow and scale?
I think it gets to a point, what, like 15 direct reports where it's impossible. You hit a wall, you know, in terms of growth. And um, at some point you figure out the recipe on your offer in terms of your margins, and like any good business will figure out like the recipe of what my contribution margin is, what, if I've extrapolated it out, that we have something I can put $1 in and get $2 out, right? And then it's a matter of finding a way to just buy back a ton of your time as an owner to be able to work on more strategic things, and you're still stuck doing things like interviewing people that aren't maybe qualified for the role in the first place because they didn't understand the context of the role, spending a bunch of time blocking and tackling on onboarding somebody, doing manual training, making sure you follow up with that rep that had that question that they texted you on iMessage, and you have 7 conversations that aren't, all those things are stopping an owner or a chief revenue officer or a VP of sales from actually thinking at a different level, which is like, can I rinse and repeat 25 times with these people? I call it back pressure. Nobody wants to grow into pain.
Yeah.
And so it's so important that that you reduce the pain, because you'll subliminally sabotage yourself from growing because of that pain, like the pain of recruiting, the pain of all this stuff. So if you can streamline that stuff early before you even really need that scale and invest there, then you'll be like, yeah, if I recruit somebody and they don't work out, it's okay, because I have a process to recruit another one. I mean, I don't know about you, but the reticence for me recruiting in the past was the pain of losing that person would hurt more than getting the person on board,
Yeah.
right? So it's really buying down. I mean, in the same way, the best way to think about all of the stuff I do, this recruit, onboard, train, retain, is that the rep is your customer.
Okay.
So if you are trying to scale your business in terms of your offer and your ability to sell more to more people, you would do the same exact thing. You'd streamline how you acquired a customer. You'd streamline how you launch that customer. You'd streamline how they think about your product and like learn how to use it, and then how you retain them. You'd streamline all of those things, right?
Yep.
But then at some point it gets to the point, to go back to your main question, it gets to the point that you've streamlined those things, and now the only way to grow is to streamline the org. Gotcha. To use that streamlined offer.
To keep feeding the machine.
Yeah, exactly.
More and more people to enter into the machine. And right. So what does the recruiting side look like? Because I hear people all the time say that they can't find any good salespeople, they can't find anything. So what is the secret sauce to that?
Yeah, so secret sauce is a lot of our customers are using outfits that all they do is targeted social media recruiting, to people that fit a good profile. So they're looking for people that appear to be types that are focused on performance and on outcomes, right? Either they're in a role already, or they're in college and they're on the baseball team or something like that, right? Or like sports types of people are really helpful. Yeah. And they go after those people, and all they do is get them interested in the opportunity. They position, why would you want to trade dollars for hours? Like, you should position, or you should think about, you're obviously know what you're doing. You could look at 4 different opportunities. You should check out this opportunity. Then they get more people in the funnel than you'd ever imagine higher up. Okay. So instead of like a really short funnel, and then you're working with this really, like funnel like this, you're really wide funnel. And then this is where traditional businesses will do what? They have a chip on their shoulder and say, it would be so nice if you worked for our company, and you should work extra hard to work for my company, right? Well, what companies that are growing in the like the entry level sales and stuff, it's more of a sales sales and marketing motion. So they actually work to sell somebody on the role early before they're qualified.
Okay.
So instead of, most people would never want you to get excited about a role before you were qualified, right? They position themselves very confidently. This is the best opportunity, the best container you could possibly have in terms of fitting your dreams into this container. And then once you're hooked, then we will work out whether or not you're qualified. Now that might sound disingenuous to some people, but that's the way it's done. Now we're going to do an informational Zoom session where we're going to have 50 people on the call or 25 people on the call, and we're going to tell you what the role is, and that's where we're actually going to say this is maybe 100% commission, or this is what people do if they work hard, and this requires grit, or this requires a level of hard work. And you're actually at that point signaling to those people, are you a good fit? Like they're thinking in their mind, do I want to go hide right now, or am I this is the right? This is, I can do this. And that's at that moment because they're already bought in.
Yeah.
And then that's the crucible moment. That's when you get people weeded out that want to hide and don't want that type of role.
Don't want to work that hard.
Yeah. So does that, I don't know if that sounds, does that sound normal, or do you feel like that's a little different?
It sounds opposite of what most businesses do, right?
Yeah.
Most businesses are trying to find people that are already qualified, that may be interested, as opposed to finding people before they're qualified and then selling them on the position, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so a lot of them would put out there, it's just a check the box, like put an Indeed job ad, here are our qualifications. The person that raises their hand is the most eager, is the one that gets in the list.
It's an interview. Go from there.
Meanwhile, you have to go after the ones that are already looking at 3 or 4 options, because they're the type of person that knows they would do well in anything they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those are the people you have to go after.
That's awesome. What are some onboarding mistakes that most companies make?
Yeah. So as companies grow, every department, so like recruiting and onboarding and training, becomes like separate departments, and they optimize for each one of their departments. Okay. And even just in onboarding, there might be a couple departments like HR and then a managerial thing and stuff. And the mistake they make is they forget that the rep has zero context about any of the process. And so I'll describe the experiences I hear about from reps. Like, okay, I got a random email about this CRM thing I needed to get added to with no context. And then this random email about this form I have to do, but I wasn't supposed to touch the CRM email until I did the form thing first and then changed my email. And then I got a text message from my manager saying, did you finish getting set up on the CRM yet? When you see what I'm getting at? So it's just all over the place. And so the biggest problem is they don't make it a linear process. They don't make it, and it reduces the confidence of that rep so much, because they're like, if this is what it's like when I'm onboarding, what's it going to be like when I'm working for this company? And so streamlining it, making it feel like the very first time you used Uber, where you just downloaded it and it just worked, and you were like, this is insane. I just show up and I get in and I don't have to tip. And I mean, I tip, but like, I don't have to mess around with that or give money. It's just all done right there. You want it to be like that. So like a concierge. And this is where treating your rep like a customer, and they're buying your opportunity. They're taking themselves out of the market to purchase your opportunity. So you better treat them like a good customer experience would be. And if you do that, and instead of coming with this like chip on your shoulder, like what was hard for me when I was coming in. And so that creates grit, like almost like a hazing, if it's hard, they'll be better. That just doesn't play out, because it's not like they don't have 3 or 4 other things that they could do.
Exactly. Yeah. So what have you seen in like retention of people that do this program or do this kind of thing, as opposed to those who don't?
Yeah, I mean, in our space, the churn can be as high as 50% in the first year, in terms of reps lost, which is just insane when you think summer to summer, how much you're rebuilding your org. And we've seen a 50% reduction in churn in some cases. for certain organizations. The tenure, the thing that people don't think about tenure is how much. So there's the actual getting and losing of reps, but then there's the loss of information and success from that rep to the next person that comes before. So like my experience with Cutco early on was, I came in, it was a new office, right? But you come in and you launch and then you go, where's everybody before? Where's everybody before us? What happened? Wait, like, were we the first team or what was the team before us? And so you lose the culture, right? You had a culture growing and then you lose that. So yeah, we've seen big improvements in terms of retention, with systematic, like connecting with the reps, managers having an easy way to like actually text all the people out in the field, send them little videos, check on their reports and send them product updates and things like that. So
that was my next question too. How do you keep them engaged once they've gone through the training process? How do you keep them engaged and wanting to still stay there?
Yeah. So one thing we found works well is hot news sharing, right? So doing a really good job of systematically taking positive news from top reps, and resharing that out to the field. And that can be difficult, but we have some tools around doing that. Other one is actually feeling heard and cutting them off at the pass. So reps that are underperforming, like, do you have any triggers in place where you either alert their manager or alert the rep, like, hey, let's have a conversation before there's that cancel moment, just like you would do this for a customer. Putting those in place. That kind of answer your question?
And you brought up text messaging. How do you use that to keep everybody?
Yeah, so it's still so well read. It's still such a great platform for communicating with the field. From the very first time somebody hears about the opportunity as a recruit, all the way through their training, they're on one texting line, and they can talk back to the team. We will set up lots of, like, a big thing I always would try to get managers to do, middle management, is to defer all of the questions that reps have back up to a main, like, text Emma, or text so-and-so up here, so that it means less pain for that middle management.
Gotcha.
And you get the right standard question from support. And then the company as a whole can understand what are the things in our training and our onboarding that didn't get well trained on, that we have holes in, and what can we do to proactively answer those questions before they come up, and then operationalize with snippets, like saved replies where we reply quickly. But a lot of companies will just rely on the middle management to do all of that, support stuff, when the managers should just be spending their time on relationship building, belief building, or team building, rather than let me figure out from accounting why that's happening on your commission statement or something like that.
Awesome. So tell me about your favorite client success story.
Favorite client success story is probably with Vector, with our Vector company. We have helped them. They used to have 700 different locations with like individual recruiting centers for each one. They consolidated all of their recruiting into one place, and they're doing all of their initial recruiting and appointment setting nationally, with one location.
Wow.
And so it's been a huge success for them. We've actually started that in 2016, and that's been like a huge. They recruit thousands of people per year, right? Another one is with Vivint, the home security company. We every single, since they're a publicly traded company, they need to keep every single rep compliant, right, with requirements. And so we have it connected to their point of sale system, where rep immediately gets locked out of the point of sale system if they don't have all of their training perfectly, all their compliance training done perfectly, and it's syncing directly to the system. And they have thousands of reps that they have to launch and do required training for each year. So
wow,
that's a big win for them.
That's awesome. And so looking into the future, how do you think AI is going to affect this process
Oh gosh, I love that you asked me about this. I will say, by the way, on small wins, I get a kick out of like helping, and I love talking. It's probably vanity, but like I love talking about these big numbers with these companies. But what really gets me excited is when I see a company that has 10 reps and they go from 10 to 40, and they're a great pest control company or they're a great construction company, and they have a great offer and they've been doing it really well, and they're earnest operators, but they never really figured out the recruiting training process, and then they dial it in, and then their company takes off. So that I'm very excited about that, and actually left doing corporate micro learning training to go back to working with companies with locations, because it's really exciting. But as far as AI goes, two things on AI. One is the way training is going to change. If you think about all front-loaded training, where you're doing a lot of training up front, the reason why we do that is because getting the right information to the rep in the moment that they need it is actually still really low fidelity. Like it's really hard for a rep when he's about to talk to a customer to get exactly what he needs to say to that customer, right? It's still difficult to do that. And so we train, teach a man to fish. We teach a man to fish, or teach someone to fish early on before they get in the boat. Gotcha. And the way it's going to change actually is it's going to be, hey, fisher person, we're going to put another fish person, like a fishing expert AI, in your boat. And all I'm going to do right now is teach you what type of questions you can ask this person, gotcha. this AI. I'm going to teach you how to be a good prompt designer, basically. And I'm going to teach you how to interact with this person. So when you're out in the field and you have a question about this, you just ask this. When you're out in the field, you just have the question this, you just ask this, right? Now there's things that you have to know. Like I can't be like, okay, customer, well, I can't do that while I'm in the middle of a sales call. But when it comes to, how should I plan my week? How should I set up my routes? All of that, you'll actually do less of it in the early on training. And you'll be able to get them. My vision is that you'll get them on the field faster, gotcha. And then they'll pick up that stuff naturally as you go. The other thing I'm seeing a lot with AI, and we're building out something for our product, is the way we help reps. There's going to be an intermediary between how we help our employees, and that is through AI. Going to be like a co-pilot, like a coaching assistant. So we're developing a thing where we gather all the information about the rep's performance, their numbers, their goals, everything, and we build a book report about that rep in less than a second. Okay. Then we take that and we interrogate. We ask AI questions about that book report. Okay. So we just ask questions like, how do they rank in terms of sales or the number of referrals they're getting per appointment, compared to the other reps in their territory. And it's like, well, based on that, they're doing this. And you can actually, so instead of reading reports and being a data scientist, you just ask questions and it tells you. And now I can leverage my relationship I have with that rep, okay, or that person, to give them more insightful coaching information. Because the bigger your list gets, like some of these people have 100 people they're in charge of, it's insane. Like you don't have the time to spend 15 minutes looking at all their data charts and looking at 4 different tools and trying to figure out what to say to them. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So, wow, that sounds like a lot of streamlining, making things easier. I don't know. I'm still kind of afraid of AI, but that's how most people that don't understand it. It's going to, I could go on. Yeah, it's going to change a lot about how we interact with our people. But as well as how we think about data and think about systems that we use. It's not going to be so rigid, you can, okay. The easiest way to think, and I'll keep the nerdiness out of this. Okay. But, okay. So each sales manager has different ways of thinking about coaching and the different things they want to highlight. And that one real important number that they care about, but the other sales manager doesn't, right? Or different territories care about different things. Well, in the past, as an engineer, you'd have to take all those account and make custom versions for these people. Now you just say, hey, when you're talking to this guy, highlight this. When you're talking to that guy, highlight that. And you really are thinking of these people, this AI, as a person that's communicating to a specific, VP of sales or whatever in a different way. Like we have different ways of communicating with those people.
That's awesome. So if somebody want to know more about your services, where would they go?
Yeah, ConveYour.com. So it's ConveYour, just like convey and your put together. And head there. You can learn about our product, and you can schedule a demo if you want to. They're on the site.
Cool. And I'll make sure everything's in the show notes, so it's all there. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.